Hi YouTube. We're going to talk about they them pronouns today. And we're also just going to roll with the lighting being a bit too washed out and whitish bluish still, because I'm still trying to get it corrected. And it's, I think, about as correct as it's going to get. First of all, next Friday, March 25th, is they them pronoun awareness day. I am pretty stoked about that as a person who uses those pronouns. And leading up to that event, I am going to do a series of shorter, hopefully they're shorter, videos about they them pronoun topics. So like why people use them, how to use them. If there's a specific thing about they them pronouns you would like me to talk about, leave me a comment, or even something not related to they them pronouns, I suppose. Any type of genderqueer, non-binary topics, or not. If you have other topics, you can ask me to talk about that too, I suppose. I also wanted to, before I get into the topic for today, wanted to point out that while I am speaking about they them pronouns, most of what I have to say is going to be applicable to any situation where someone has asked you to use a different new set of pronouns for them and or a different name related to their gender identity. So if it's they them pronouns, if it's any of the dozens of gender neutral pronoun sets that are out there or that people introduce, or if it's a switch between their binary pronouns. They might move from he to she or from hers to his, for example. What I'm saying is kind of still going to apply in these situations. So, on to today's topic. This is actually addressed to anyone who has a friend, family member, coworker, acquaintance, classmate, whomever, who has asked you to use they them pronouns, and you are having a difficult time doing that all of the time for them or at all. So I'm going to talk to you about why pronouns are important for those people, and then I'm going to give you a couple tips for ways to practice getting used to they them pronouns for those folks. So, if you have ever been in a situation where someone misgendered you, even super innocently, if you're a cisgender person and you've walked into a store and been greeted as sir or ma'am, and you are ma'am or sir, you know that feels a little weird because it's wrong. You know that it's not who you are. And even in those situations where it's an innocent mistake, you don't necessarily find it offensive even, you still know that feeling of that's wrong. So that's what's happening every single time you use the wrong pronouns for someone. So kind of try to keep in your mind that it's not even that it's offensive, it's that it's just a wrong, doesn't fit scenario for that person. And then kind of along that, the reason it feels wrong, and it is wrong, is because it doesn't align with their gender identity. So when you repeatedly are not able to use the correct pronoun or name, or both, with someone, what you're really essentially saying to them in not as many words is that you don't actually see them as the gender they are presenting to you. And so if you're trying to be a friend or ally or supportive person, you really have to get into a mindset that that person is non-binary. They are genderqueer. They are not the man or woman that you maybe had previously assumed or known them as. They're this non-binary person. And being able to see them correctly will help you be able to correctly gender them. Because until you do that, every time you misgender them, you are also saying that you're still seeing them as male or female, despite the fact that they have told you possibly multiple times that they are not just male or female, or maybe they're neither of those things or one of those things or fluid or whatnot. So that's kind of the place that the non-binary person is coming from when they ask you to use they, them pronouns. For me, they fit me quite well because my identity is this kind of mix all of the time. So I really like they, them pronouns because they kind of encapsulate that to me. So if you use other pronouns for me, you're saying that you don't see me in that same way. So what do you do if you are just having difficulty for whatever reason? Well, first, start actively thinking of that person as the gender they have, or genders they have told you that they are. Second, to help yourself do that, whenever you think of this person, make it a point to gender them correctly in your mind. So if they cross your mind because you're going to see them in class later this afternoon, think, oh, they're going to be in class. Don't think their name specifically, think the pronoun. And make a habit of thinking about this person with their pronouns on a fairly regular basis. So mentally, you're changing the way you think about them. If it's a person that you communicate with in any form of writing, so email, if it's a coworker or a classmate, I suppose, email, if you text them, if you Facebook with them, make it a point to use their correct pronoun. Maybe even find some reasons to use pronouns as opposed to their name, unless it's you're also trying to learn a new name. Because realistically, we do all have verbal habits. If you've known someone for a really long time, some of that really will be just as much habit as you not necessarily respecting their gender identity. So I do recognize that. These are just tips to help you get over that and get a new habit formed. This video is not going to be any shorter. I have a timer going. Sorry. If it's somebody that you are around a lot or live with, I've seen some fun things you can do. If it's a person that you have a pretty good relationship with, I have seen people make water bottles. Like, you spray a cat when the cat misbehaves. And if you misgender the person, they spray you with the water bottle, which is kind of funny and makes it a little bit less like super serious all the time, because that can be a drag too for everyone involved. And if you're trying to do all of these things, and for some reason you just still have a problem verbalizing correctly their pronouns, tell them you're having a problem, and ask them to call you out on it. Ways that I use a lot of times is I will just restate what someone said with the they, them pronouns. But make them aware that you're trying and that you're not going to be offended when you misgender them and they correct you. Because it's not about you specifically. It's about you. Well, it is about you. It's about you not seeing their gender correctly and not gendering them properly. But it's not like you're a terrible person. You're watching this video. You're at least trying to take steps to do the correct thing and gender them correctly. So those are just some tips that I can't take credit for all of them, like the water bottle. Like I saw it on Tumblr probably. But make the active effort. Let the person know if you're struggling. Let them know that you're making the effort and you want them to correct you so that they're a little bit more comfortable doing that. If that's something that maybe they're not comfortable with, just tell them, like, hey, I've been trying to use they, them pronouns for you and I keep slipping up. So you can tell me when I do. Don't take it personally when they tell you. Just fix it. Oh, if you catch yourself, if you say, I'm going to the library with him, I'm going to the library with them. That's it. That's all you need to do. Don't make a huge deal out of it either. I'm trying to think if there are any more little quick tips. But I think those are some initial things to get you started. So again, this is more addressed to people who are struggling to change their speech to correctly gender people using they, them pronouns. If you have any other tips for people or things that you've seen that work, again, leave them in the comments. And I hope that some folks have found this video useful and helpful. And let me know what other they, them things you want me to talk about in the time frame leading up to They, Them Pronoun Awareness Day. Good night.